Welcome to Better Daily, where we explore small shifts that make a big difference. I'm Adam, and today we're diving into something personal and universal: habits.
And I'm Sophie. You ever wonder why it's so easy to fall into bad habits, but so hard to build good ones? I mean, we know what's good for us, right? But doing it is a whole different story.
Yeah, it's wild how much of our lives run on autopilot, and yet we rarely stop to look under the hood. But today, we're going to explore that, why habits are so sticky, and how we can start shifting them in ways that actually feel human.
Let's start here. What even is a habit, really?
A habit is basically a behavior your brain has automated. It's something you've repeated enough times that your mind files it away like, okay, this works. Let's not think about it again. And most of these habits, we don't choose them consciously. They start small, maybe useful at first, but over time they become default settings.
So like checking your phone when you're bored?
Exactly. Or biting your nails when you're nervous. Even the way you walk into your kitchen and head straight for the fridge without thinking. That's a habit loop in action. And here's something surprising. Studies show that up to 95% of what we do every day is based on habit, not fresh decision-making. So in a way, we're mostly running on scripts.
95%? That's kind of wild. So if that's true, how much of me is actually me?
Right? It's one of those who's steering the ship moments. But here's the upside. Habits save us. They free up mental space. Imagine if you had to think about how to tie your shoes every morning, or how to brush your teeth step by step.
Okay, true. That would be exhausting.
The problem only comes in when the wrong scripts start running the show, like late night snacking, endless scrolling, skipping workouts. Those weren't planned. They just happened over time.
So it's not about being lazy. It's more like having the wrong autopilot.
That's a really good way to put it. And what's powerful is habits can be edited, not instantly, but gradually. But first, you have to see how the system works.
Okay, so how does the system work? I've heard of the habit loop before, but it always felt a bit abstract.
Yeah, it sounds technical at first, but it's actually pretty intuitive. Every habit has 3 parts: the cue, the routine, and the reward.
Break that down for me?
Sure, let's say every day around 4 p.m. you feel tired. That tiredness is the cue. You walk to the kitchen and grab a cookie. That's the routine. The sugar gives you a small energy spike, or maybe just comfort. That's the reward. So the brain goes, oh, cool, cookie equals good. Let's do that again tomorrow.
So the cookie's not the problem? The cue and reward are also part of it?
Yes, and here's the sneaky part. Your brain learns the pattern and starts anticipating the reward. Sometimes, even before you feel tired, your brain is already like, hey, isn't it cookie time?
Wow, so even if I try to stop the habit, my brain's already a few steps ahead?
Yep, that's why just trying to stop something doesn't always work, because the cue and the craving are still there.
So what do we do with that? Just become super self-aware?
That's one way. But it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It starts with noticing. When does the habit happen? What are you usually feeling before it? And what are you really getting from it? Sometimes what looks like a bad habit is really just a need trying to be met.
That hits different. So, like, maybe when I scroll Instagram for an hour before bed, it's not just procrastination.
Maybe it's your brain asking for a break, or connection, or distraction from something heavy you haven't dealt with yet. And look, none of this means judgment. We all do it. But when we see the pattern, that's when we get a chance to gently shift it.
So, is that the first real step, noticing what's behind the habit?
100%, because once you're aware, even a little, the loop becomes editable. You can start experimenting. What if I change the routine but keep the reward? Or, what if I replace the cue with something new?
That actually feels possible.
That's the goal. Change doesn't have to be dramatic to be real. Even a 1-degree shift over time can lead to something entirely new.
So Adam, if we know our habits aren't helping us, why do we still keep them? Why does it feel so hard to let go?
That's a great question. The truth is, most bad habits stick around because they're solving something, even if it's in a messy or short-term way. They give us relief, they give us comfort, or they help us avoid something we don't want to feel.
So even if the habit is unhealthy, it's still doing a job?
Yes, let's say someone smokes when they're anxious. They know it's bad for their health, but in that moment, it gives them a sense of control, or even just a distraction from that inner tension. So if we just try to take away the habit without giving the brain something better to hold on to, it feels unsafe, unstable, empty.
That actually explains a lot. Sometimes when I try to stop something, I just feel lost.
Yeah, and that's not failure. That's feedback. It means the habit was doing more than we realized. And you know what else plays a huge role? Your environment. If your space, your routines, or even the people around you are reinforcing the old behavior, change becomes like swimming upstream. Let's say you're trying to cut back on late night snacking, but your favorite snacks are still right there, in arm's reach. Or your partner always brings ice cream when watching TV. That's not willpower, that's design. We blame ourselves, but the whole setup is working against us. And that's why one of the biggest shifts is to stop thinking in terms of discipline and start thinking in terms of design.
Okay, so let's say I'm ready to build a better habit. Where do I start without relying on willpower?
You start small, like ridiculously small. There's something called the 2-minute rule. It says any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to start. So if your goal is to read more, don't say, I'll read for an hour. Start with, open the book and read 1 page. If your goal is to exercise, begin with, put on your workout shoes. You're not trying to win in 2 minutes. You're just trying to start. And once you're in motion, it's easier to keep going. We think motivation comes before action, but most of the time, it shows up after we begin. And there's another trick that works well, habit stacking. You take a habit you already do and attach the new one to it. For example, after I brush my teeth, I'll stretch for 30 seconds. Or after I make coffee, I'll write down one thing I'm grateful for. Your brain already recognizes the first part, so the second part slides in easier.
That's clever, like piggybacking on what already works.
And over time, those little actions, they compound. 1% better each day doesn't seem like much, but in a month, in a year, it changes everything.
That makes it feel lighter, like I don't have to flip my life upside down to grow.
You don't. You just need a starting point that feels so easy. It's almost impossible to say no.
Okay, let's say I've started building a new habit. Things are going well, but then one day I miss it, and then maybe I miss it again. That's usually when I start thinking, well, I blew it. Now what?
Yeah, that moment, the slip, it's where most people feel like they've failed. But here's the truth. Missing once, that's human. Missing twice starts a pattern, but it's not the end. It's just a signal. And how you respond to that slip, that's what matters.
So how should we respond without spiraling?
First, drop the guilt. Seriously, beating yourself up doesn't help the habit come back, it just makes it heavier. Then, ask yourself with kindness, what threw me off? Was I tired, overwhelmed, distracted? And finally, reset. Don't try to make up for lost time, just return to one small version of the habit. The easiest version.
Almost like you're just saying, okay, let's continue, instead of let's restart everything.
Exactly. One missed day doesn't erase the days you showed up. Momentum isn't built by being perfect, it's built by returning. And honestly, building the skill of coming back might be the most powerful part of habit change.
That's really comforting to hear. It's like now falling off the bike is part of learning how to ride.
Beautifully said.
So if we want habits to last, like long term, what makes the difference?
It starts with identity. Ask yourself not, what do I want to achieve, but instead, what kind of person do I want to be? If you say, I want to run 3 times a week, that's a goal. But if you shift it to, I'm the kind of person who takes care of their body, then every run becomes a vote for that identity. Because when something becomes part of your identity, you don't have to force it, you just show up as that person. And your environment plays a role too. Want to read more? Keep a book visible? Want to eat healthier? Prep your meals before the week starts. You shape the space, and the space shapes you.
That really stays with me.
And you know, sometimes the most powerful shift isn't about adding more. It's about noticing what already works and leaning into that. Maybe you're already doing something small that supports the kind of life you want. Honor it. Build on it. Tiny steps, repeated with care, can shape an entirely different future. Quietly, steadily, beautifully.
That makes me think, maybe the most powerful habits aren't loud, they're just stable.
They're built quietly, with care, not overnight, but day by day. And the cool part is, every tiny choice you make is a vote, not for perfection, but for the direction you want to move toward.
So, what's one thing people can take away from this whole conversation?
You don't have to wait for a big breakthrough. Just choose one habit, start tiny, and keep returning, even if it's messy, even if you miss days. Change comes not from control, but from consistency.
This was one of my favorite conversations. So many insights, but also so much compassion. If you're listening and trying to make a change, we're rooting for you.
And just remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep showing up, even if it's in the smallest way. Thanks for joining us on Better Daily. We'll see you next time. Take care.